Hello friends, welcome to Technobytes. In this video, we are going to learn about one more pillar of Android and component of Android, that is content provider. So content providers are basically provide the content as their name suggests. So let's take an example. Every phone has inbuilt a phone book where the user save his or her contacts in that phone book application. And let's say we are building similar type of application, our very own app, which is very similar like a phone book. Now, if we want to access the contact shared by the user using the default phone book, we need some mechanism, and this is where content providers are useful. The existing phone book uses a content provider to provide the contents, that is to provide the data which is saved by the user to other apps if they want to access that data. And we also use the content provider to gain access to that data, and then we display that in our application. So similarly, in this tutorial, we are going to build a simple phone book application where we will extract data from the inbuilt application, and we are going to uh, display all the contacts in our own application. So let's get started for this application. So here I am in the application where I have just built a list of contacts to be displayed. In our main activity main.xml, we will see first in our application, let's say we will be displaying the list of contacts like this. And we have just created one recycler view in our main activity file. That's it. Let's go to our layout file for designing the individual list item. So this is the first name of the contact, so whatever the name of the contact will be displayed here, and this is his or her phone number. It will be displayed in this, and this is just a divider line. So this is the item underscore contact.xml file, and we are using a data binding layout in our whole project. That's why this layout tag is there. So let me go to the main activity.kt. So in this, we are using the data binding, this logic you can see it here of the data binding. So this is not anything new. So in here, we have created a mutable list of contact. Initially this list is empty, and when we will be going to implement the logic of our content provider, then we will be getting the data, and then we will be adding the data one by one and in this list, and finally we are submitting this list to our adapter to show the data. And here I have just created adapter like a normal adapter which we create in any other project where we require the recycler view. So it is just a contact adapter. It is inherited from list adapter, and these are all the function on create view, on bind view holder, and diffuse class. All these things are nothing new. So this is just the basic preparation I have already done in order to focus more on our content provider thing. So let's move toward our content provider. So for this content provider, we get some inbuilt thing, some inbuilt keyword like content. We use content resolver. So in the Java, it is like a get content resolver. In Kotlin, we can just access it as a property reference. So dot content resolver is the thing. Dot, here is one function we can use, that is query. So this query accepts several parameters, and there are different variations of this function. So out of this, the one which is accepting 5 parameters, the second one that we are going to use in this query function, that variation we are going to use. So first one for this query is URI, that is uniform resource identifier. So URI is basically as their name suggests, they are used to uniquely identify the resource. That may be any resource, that may be audio file, video file, or some text file, or some data, any type of data. That type of things can be accessed by the URI. So in this we will be using the URI for the context, and this function accepts the first parameter as a URI. So you can just hover this and see it is asking for the URI. So for this accessing the context URI, as we want to access the user's context, we need to submit the context URI in this application. So how we can get that? There is one class, that is contact context contract. We are getting this class, and if we hover on this, this class is coming from android.provider. You can see it from here, that as we are using the content provider, so all these things will be coming from the android.provider package. Context contract dot common data kinds, as this is a common data kind, this is one of the common data kind, that's why it is wrapped in this class. So if we click on dot on this, we get various things like a phone, email, event, identity, note, and all other things. But currently we need the phone details, that's why we'll enter phone dot content URI. So this is the basically a URI uh, pointing to the user context. So if we control click on this, we can see that this is the inbuilt class, and here it is saying that with appended path data.content URI and phones. So basically this URI will point to the contacts things, context data. Now second parameter of this, let's hover on this. Second parameter is basically array of string. So second parameter is accepting that is array of string, and that parameter is a projection. So projection is basically we want to access the data of the contacts, and the data table, and it will be a table which is saved in some database. It will be a table. Out of that table, which columns we need to access, which columns data we need to access, that we need to provide. Let's say if in this screen I am displaying just now, there this is a table, this is sample table, and here are some column names like id, display name, number. By the way, these are the real column names, and they are all stored in the database somewhere else. Like id, here id is a unique parameter which is auto increment in general. Or display name, that we in this where we save the contact of the user and we enter the name, that is the this display name. I have put the 3 sample entries here, and the number which we store as a number, and phonetic name is something, and has phone number is a boolean value, and again contact status icon. If we set some status icon for that contact, then all this data. Now what is the projection? So this id, display name, phonetic name, number, all these things are comes into a projections array. So as this display name is one column, this number is one column, this id is one column, so we need to define in the projection array whatever the columns data we need to deal with, and that is the thing we are going to uh, add in our projection array. So I'll create a separate array here where projection equal to array of. Now we need to provide here 3 column names. One is id, second one is display name, and third one is a number. So let me again, I need to access the context contract dot common data kinds dot phone dot id. Similarly, I duplicate these 2 more times, and in place of id, I now want display name, which is the name which we have saved, and this is a number, the number of the respective person we want. So this projection array contains all these 3 column names, we can say, and now I am passing this projection here. Now if we hover here again, what is the third parameter? Third parameter is the string. So it is the string, it is basically a selection string. While working with SQL, we many times we fire some selection statements like select start from this, where something equals to something. Like let's say here I'll write some SQL statement, sample select start from table where email, it can be anything. I am just writing it for a sample, email equal to question mark. So all this statement can be written here in the selection, because this is a selection statement which this query function is accepting. This function will only use when we want to limit the things or filters the result according to some criteria. let's say I need some context name that just that display name starts with a, or that has specific display name, some string contains within them. All these things are the some variations of the selection criteria. But for here, for in this tutorial, we are not going to assign any selection criteria. We just want to blindly get all the context saved by the user and provide us in form in this with the help of this content provider. So we can, if this is the case, we can just pass as a null, because this is a nullable string parameter. Again, fourth parameter is also is an array of string. So this is also an array of string. This is the SQL statement you can write. We don't generally write $email here, because that might be vulnerable to SQL injections. So in the when this question mark is provided here, then this is the one argument, and we want to provide the where arguments, what this question mark should be replaced with. So this is the thing which we have to pass it here in the selection args selection arguments. So as we don't have any selection criteria, we will not also have any selection parameters. And the last one is also, if we hover here, uh, it is not no longer showing the, yeah, it is okay, it has identified that this is think of this is the variation of 4, but we are not using the variation of this 4. We will be using the 5 parameters variation of the query function. So last one is sorting. So when while retrieving any data from the database, we might come across some type of sorting criteria. So this sorting statement we can provide here. That is, let's say we have some we are now as we are now retrieving the list of phone book, we might want the result to be sorted according to the ascending order of the name, or descending order, or something related to mobile, or number, or something like that. So all these criteria can be stated here in the sort criteria, the sort statement. So here I want the contact to be sorted in ascending order according to the display name. So I'll just first take the display name column, and I can append ASC here, because it is just a statement. And now you can see what all the things it has mentioned correctly. That this parameter is a selection, this fourth parameter is a selection args, that is arguments, and fifth parameter is a sort order. So we can sort according to which order that we can provide here. So this is how our query function is. Now we can rub this. We don't needed this, it was just for illustration purpose. Now if you can see, this query function is showing some warning. So let me hover on this, and what is showing this? This cursor should be freed up after use with close function. So basically this all block, this content resolver.query, this query function returns a cursor through on which we can iterate and get our all list items. So we can go like typical approach, like val c equal to something, then this c is an cursor, you can see, and then we can do all our processing on this cursor traversal, and then we can use the close function for on this c, so that we can close this cursor after use. So we'll free up this. But instead we have one block provided by Kotlin that is very efficient and can be used here, that is use. So if we hover on this use, it can we can see in the documentation that executes the given block function on this resource, and then closes it down correctly whether an exception is thrown or not. So this use block takes care of freeing up the resources, that is it will close the cursor. And if you can see, the warning on the query function is no longer visible there. So this use function will do that for us, and it accepts the parameter and passes it further in a block for processing. So you can see it here, hit it under it colon cursor. So we are getting the it as a parameter in this block, so we can write just it and it will be a cursor. So we can also specify explicitly as a cursor. Here we will first get the column instances, because we need to, what the end result we are opting for, we want to build a contact list. So for the building the contact list, as I have just showed a table few minutes ago, the table is basically different contains a different columns. So these three columns need to we need to get data from, and these for this we cannot directly use them. We need to instance of that each individual column, so that we can use that instance and then can retrieve the values from the respective column. For this, I'll use val id column equal to, we can use this cursor here, cursor dot get column index. So we need to get the index, and it is accepting one column name as a string. So column name we have it here in a position array. So let me just copy this id and paste it here, and the same I'll duplicate these two times. This is id, this is a name, and the third one is a number. So we'll get all the indexes of all the instances of these three columns. id, I'll replace this one with the display name, and this one with a number. Now we are ready to iterate over the cursor. So for that we have one method, we have one looping function, that's while. So cursor has one method that is very easy to use, that is move to next. So this cursor dot move to next method will automatically increment the cursor uh, after each iteration, and it also will continue to return boolean value as a true till all the list elements are have been traversed. So after the all the list elements have finished traversing, it will automatically return as a false and the loop will be closed. So this is a very safe option to loop over the cursor. Here we can get the individual values and then create a contact object. So here I'll use val id equals to cursor dot get long. I'll use a get long here because id is a long value, and it is now asking for a column index. So that's why we have already created these three column indexes in advance. So I'll just copy this id column and paste it here. I'll duplicate this again. This is a name and this is a number, but for this, these two values will be string values, not a long one. And also we need to replace this with a name column and this with a number column. Yeah. Now we have the value of id, name and number. So we need to what we need to do next, we need to create a contact object and then add it to the contact list which we have uh, created at the top in the very first place. This is a contact, it is a mutable list of contact. So it will accept the any new data insertion into it which have the data type as a contact. So we'll just write contacts dot add. Here we'll create a contact object and we'll pass the these three values id, name and number to this data class. If we have not looked in the data class, so this is the data class, it has three values id, name and number. id is long and other two values are a string. So I'll pass this id, name and number. So this is it. Now this cursor will move to till all the values have been reached, and it will continue to add with the contact object with the new values, and the contact list will be ready, and this contact list we will be passing to this our recycler view as a submit list of contacts. This is the same contact list we are adding here. This should do the work. But if we run the project at this time, it will crash. Why? Because we don't have a permission to access the user's contacts. So it is a danger permission, and we require to ask the users as runtime if we can access the contacts on his device, his or her device. So for that, let's open manifest.xml Android manifest file, and here we need to declare a permission, use this permission read context. But as this is a dangerous permission, we also need to explicitly ask it in the when we launch our project. So here itself we'll write function request permissions. This accepts the three parameters. First one, sorry, no, not directly. We need to write activity compact dot request permissions. So this selected three parameters. So first one is a this. Second one is a permissions array. So basically it is an array of manifest. This should come from Android. Manifest dot permission dot read context. And third parameter is the request code that we don't use in this tutorial. And that's it. Now we are ready to launch our application. Now just click on launch our application and see how it works. So my application has been launched, and it is asking for the permission. Allow this application to access your contacts. I click on allow, and as soon as I click on allow, it is displaying all the contacts which I have in my phone book. So for the just to verify, I'll just press home button and we'll go to phone book. If we have the same list, yeah, we can see that there are only 5 contacts in this, and these are the same contacts 1 2 3 4 5. These 5 contacts are the same as we are seeing in our own application. Oh, sorry, I need to relaunch that. Yeah, these are the same contacts that we have saved in our phone book. So this is how we can use content provider to get the access the value from another content provider application. So here the existing phone book is using the content provider, and we are consuming that, and we are using the data and displaying that in our application. So here we have used the content resolver to get the data. But if we have some our own application which contains a large data set, and if we want to use the content provider to let the other apps use our apps data, for that we can create our very own content providers. So which is not a, simple task, which is a bit complex task. So I'll just show you how you can do quickly here. What the things you need to do, you just need to create a class my content provider, and you can just extend it from contact provider, sorry, not contact, content provider. And you can just call constructor on this, and you can just click alt enter to implement the methods. So all of these methods you need to implement here. This is the onCreate function which we are very familiar as an Android developer, and this is a query function. We have passed a very large number of parameters to this query function when we are getting the data. There's all these 5 parameters we have passed in the content resolver.query function. So we need, and this function has returned us with the cursor. So here the process is reverse. We need to accept all these parameters and to do our data and do our data processing and return with the cursor value, so that the another application can iterate over that values which we have provided. This again the get type, insert, delete, these operations we can also do, and this update operation, all these operations we can do. And when we are going to implement our own content provider, all these things we need to do. So that is only the thing I am going to explain here, because explaining this in deeper is very complex task. So and mostly you don't need that, you only need to access this access the data from the another inbuilt application. So mostly you will likely to deal with all these things with the content resolver. So that's it for this tutorial. I have tried my best to explain how we can use the content provider to get the access to the data which is provided by the content providers of existing applications. I hope that is clear to you. If not, you can ask your questions in the comments down below. I will try my best to answer those. If you like this video, then please click on like, share with your friends, and let me know in the comments how this video had helped you in your own application. And subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, so that you will stay updated whenever a new video is published. We will meet in the next tutorial with some another interesting topic. Till then, goodbye. Have a good one.